Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our Maricopa County Comprehensive Plan Update. My name is Adam Cannon, and I'm the project manager for the Comprehensive Plan Update. Right next to me, this fine gentleman is Matt Kleisico. He's our consultant helping us with that project. I want to just start out first by thanking SHOA and the Recreation Centers of Sun City, because without them and without their support, we wouldn't have been able to make this event happen today. And Lisa Gray has helped us so much. I also want to recognize her as well. She's been working with us to put this together. We're out here in this community for you, and so we're excited to be here today. I just want to introduce what the comprehensive plan is real quick. Matt is going to give a presentation today, but our comprehensive plan is a document that includes goals and policies regarding future growth and development within Maricopa County. And what we do is we go out into the community and reach out, like we're doing today with you, to get your feedback, to get your thoughts about the future of Maricopa County. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Matt. Thank you so much again for coming.
Wonderful. Well, this is an amazing turnout, so it's great to see so many of you join us this morning, so thank you again. Adam did a great great intro for our discussion this evening, or this morning, if I can get my day right. But what we want to focus on for the discussion this morning is this is our second round of outreach for the comprehensive plan update. So many of you, this might be the first meeting that you've joined. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time making sure we're all on the same page in terms of what we're working on, why we're doing it, and then where we go from here. So this presentation is going to spend a little bit of time going back and sharing some information from our round one that you may not have been able to join us. And then we're going to show some of the feedback that we've collected since that first meeting, and then have conversations about what to do with that information and how we move forward. So you can see from the agenda on the screen there that we'll get into those brief introductions about the background of the project. Then I'll share some of the outreach summary so you can see what your friends and neighbors have shared up to this point. We'll pause for question and answers, and then the bulk of the conversation from there is feedback. We want to hear from you. We don't want to spend the whole time presenting. We also want to take this opportunity to learn from you and hear your comments. And then after that, we'll close with our next steps and closing comments. So as I mentioned, what we wanted to do is first get everybody acclimated with the comprehensive plan itself. Adam shared a little bit about the role of the comprehensive plan, but I'm going to use the next few slides to go through a little bit more detail of what this plan does and why we're updating it. So a background on the comprehensive plan. First and foremost, as you can maybe see from the graphic on the slide there, this is a state-mandated plan. Every county in Arizona is required to have a comprehensive plan. That comprehensive plan is a document that looks 10, 20 years into the future. It's the long-range guiding document. It's our North Star. It creates the playbook to then document the future goals and policies of the county. Those goals and policies then help or can be used by decision makers, i.e. the Board of Supervisors or staff, to ensure that short-term decisions are in alignment with our long-term vision. So the comprehensive plan is that umbrella, overarching document that utilizes a series of goals and policies to help ensure that as we're making decisions on a daily basis, that we're working towards the long-term goals and views of what the county wants to achieve. And obviously, all of you come into play when we're talking about what those goals and policies should be. So that's the role of the comprehensive plan. You might be also asking, well, why are we updating it now? Well, the comprehensive plan was last updated back in 2016. It's been 10 years since that time. So it's just good practice to get back into the comprehensive plan, look at the data, census information changes, development patterns change. So we want to get back under the hood of the comprehensive plan and see if we need to recalibrate. If things are going well, then some things stay the way they are. If things need to be adjusted, then we want to have that conversation and see what changes we want to make. So that's an important aspect of it. The other aspect is state statute. Arizona law requires the county to update the comprehensive plan as well. And so the county's obviously making sure that they're abiding by state law in going through this process. This process also allows the county an opportunity to make sure that the comprehensive plan is in alignment with a lot of the other plans that the county utilizes to guide development on a more granular level. So as I mentioned, the comp plan is that overarching document, but the county also has other documents like the transportation plan or the parks and recreation plan that guide specific components in a little more detail across the county. So the comp plan can help inform and ensure that all of those individual unique plans are consistent with the overarching focus or direction of the county. So that's a little bit about the role and why we're updating the comprehensive plan, but let's talk also about what does the comprehensive plan cover? We're here as Maricopa County, and if you can see, I know the graphic for some is going to be a little small to read all the detail, but that's okay because the map is intended to convey the overall boundary you see on that map is Maricopa County. Hopefully that shape is familiar to you. Maricopa County is a large area. It's bigger than 6 states. And so the comprehensive plan covers all unincorporated Maricopa County. And so that's actually all of the tan area that you see in that graphic is unincorporated Maricopa County. Any area that you see in blue, that's a municipality. That's the municipal limits of all the various cities and towns within Maricopa County. And then the orange areas are all our native tribal lands. So all of those areas, the blue and orange, those are governed by those communities' own long-range plans. So if you're in a city or town, then you are guided by what's called a general plan. General plan is in essence the same thing as a comprehensive plan. So if you've heard those terms out in other meetings, those are the nuances that per state statute, they decided counties were going to call those comprehensive plans, cities and towns were going to call those general plans. But they're in essence, their roles do the same thing, one for the county and one for cities and towns. So the comprehensive plan that we're working on only focuses on unincorporated Maricopa County. So it would be those lands outside of the blue or orange areas. And so that's where and why we're out here in Sun City. Sun City is one of the larger, as you all know, unincorporated communities in Maricopa County. Thus, the comprehensive plan does provide guidance for Sun City. Now, some of the areas around Sun City, if you're in Surprise or Peoria, those areas would be governed by their general plans. So hopefully that gives some clarity that while this is the Maricopa County Comprehensive Plan, it doesn't necessarily dictate development within municipalities. They govern their own growth and development. So let's talk a little bit about also where does the comprehensive plan come into play in terms of the development hierarchy. I like to use this inverted pyramid to try to convey that process. The comprehensive plan is that 30,000 views. So the inverted pyramid, the comprehensive plan is the broadest, right? The most long-range document that sets the tone. So that's at the top of this development ladder. From there, the comprehensive plan informs our area plans. And so we have a map in the back that shows all the different area plans that Maricopa County utilizes. And the unique thing about area plans is that they address unique aspects of certain areas within the county. So when I showed you that previous map and we said, yeah, Maricopa County is large, it's bigger than 6 states, you might say, well, there's pockets that have unique challenges compared to other areas of the county. How can a plan that covers across the entire county address those nuances? Well, that's where the area plans come into play. Those area plans cover smaller portions of the county and help the county or allow the county to get into a little more detail about the specific unique aspects of any one particular area. And so some of you may have participated recently in the White Tanks area plan update. And that's an example of an area plan that looked at a specific portion of the county and dug a little deeper about the nuances of that area compared to other locations across the county. So the comp plan sets the tone. The area plans let us refine that for the specific aspects of the county. Then from there, we get into the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance is something that you all are probably familiar with. You have those in cities and towns. The county also has zoning. And the zoning code is that document that starts to get into more of the detail, right? So the comprehensive plan, it's looking at goals and policies and saying residential is appropriate here, commercial is appropriate there. But when you get into the zoning code and the zoning map, it starts to look at what type of residential, what are the specific uses that can go on that parcel. So it starts to get into that physical detail that guides the actual development of a parcel. So it addresses setbacks, height, what are parking requirements? All of those aspects that might go into physically developing a site are guided by the zoning code. And then from there, once the zoning and entitlements are in place, then someone can start development of their site. So they would do a site plan or a plat if they're doing residential and get their construction documents. So we're coming down to that point on the ground itself. And once you get approval for your building permits, then you can start going vertical. So all of those items along that ladder are individual stages in the development process. And so this comprehensive plan is at the top of that process. And that's what we're focusing on. All those other things that I mentioned, the area plan, the zoning, the site plan, those are reviewed and revised in different ways and different times, but they all come out of this comprehensive plan. So a little bit more about the process. So we talked about what is the purpose and role of the comprehensive plan, what does it cover, where does it play into the development process. Well, here is our update process. There's a lot of information on this graphic. I realize it's probably not legible to some in the back of the room. It's okay. What we want to emphasize with this graphic is that there's 3 primary phases to this effort. If you can see the orange triangle kind of in the yellow there, that's where we are in the process. So as I mentioned, this is our second round of outreach. We had other outreach activities in the first round. We're now trying to continue to broaden that with this second round. From there, we'll then move into the third phase, which is actually reviewing a draft of the plan itself so that you can actually start to see how all this information comes together and then comment from that draft before it goes on to the Board of Supervisors for final approval. So the idea of this process is an iterative process, right? We come to you in round 1, we get feedback, we take that feedback, make some proposed changes, bring that to you, and that's what we'll be going over today, and then use the feedback we collect today to then develop a draft plan. That plan goes back out to you in phase 3. Statute says that plan must be out in the public for 2 months. So Hopefully that comforts everybody to know that there's going to be plenty of opportunity to continue to engage in this process and make sure that we give room for everybody to review what's being drafted and share your input. This morning, this is not the last time that you'll be given an opportunity to provide your feedback. How to get involved? Well, the fact that you're all here means that a lot of you already know how to get involved, and then that's fantastic. But we recognize that not everybody's able to join us when we schedule these events. And so we've been trying to align all of our activities with in-person opportunities to engage, but also virtual opportunities. So if someone isn't able to join us in person, they can go online and view all of the same information and engage in the same activities as you would do in person. And you can do all of that on our project website, framework2040.com. And so that information is on the fact sheet that you collected on the way into the meeting. And a lot of the information that you see in the room is posted on the project website. So I encourage you to go take a look at that, and anything you see or hear this morning, you can dive a little deeper into that by reviewing the project website. The last thing I would mention is signing up for updates. We all don't want to collect more emails in our inbox, but if you're interested in this process, you want to stay informed, we encourage you to sign up on the project website. And the good thing about signing up is when this process is done, we won't send any more spam emails. But you can also share that with your friends and neighbors, that if they sign up, then you don't have to constantly go back to the website and make sure, has anything changed? Did I miss a meeting? We'll send you an update. Say, there's a new document on the website. There's a meeting coming up. And hopefully keep everybody informed, and then you might even help us out and share with your neighbors if they haven't signed up themselves. So again, we appreciate you being here, but if you know there's others that would be interested and weren't able to join us, there's some other options that they can continue to be engaged. This meeting is our actual last in-person meeting of our second round. We've had 5 in our first round of meetings. We had 5 in-person meetings in all of the 5 supervisor districts, and we did that again for this round. And we're trying to rotate those meeting locations so that we can get to all areas of the county. And so, again, this was a great turnout for this particular venue and location here in Sun City. But as you might be able to see on the screen, District 4 is the location for Sun City. That is the last. We've had in-person meetings in all the other districts up to this point, and we also had a grand virtual meeting. So after our meeting this morning, next week, we'll be loading all of this information onto the project website. And again, that's when your friends and neighbors can also view the same information, the PowerPoint, the feedback opportunities. So all of that will be up on the website. And again, another option for people to, if you have a follow-up thought, you're driving around and a thought pops into your brain, you weren't able to share it today, you can go back on the website and provide that information. The last thing I would mention is this is a screen capture from Maricopa County's home or overall website. If you have, as I mentioned, the comprehensive plan addresses unincorporated Maricopa County holistically, right, broadly. If you have questions or comments on a specific project that you might be interested in, we would encourage you to go to Maricopa County, type in Planning Services, and it'll take you to this page. In this page, you're able to click on specific cases or projects if you want to share comments on those aspects. Because we're focused on the county overall, this plan isn't going to get into the granular details of a specific zoning case. And so that's, this website is where you can go to find out more about some of those projects, as well as learn any opportunities for feedback. We do have staff around the room, so if you do have questions about a specific project, find a staff member. They might be able to answer a question directly or point you in the right direction to someone who can help you. But wanted to clarify those nuances between maybe a specific project versus this overall comprehensive plan. So that hopefully gets us all at least on the same page. For those that are familiar with the comp plan, those are new to the process, at least now my brief summary guides or places everybody on the same page as far as what we're trying to achieve through our discussions this morning. So I want to now transition into giving a summary of the outreach that we went through for that round one. And the focus of that was, as you can see on the screen, what do residents think about Maricopa County and the direction it needs to go? And so that was the focus around round one feedback, is looking at existing conditions to understand what that's telling us in terms of where the county is with growth and changes since the plan was last updated. But the other half of that is the feedback from residents. And so the next few slides, I want to share the initial feedback that we received through that round one. What I would emphasize is this is a snapshot of those feedback results. The opportunity to continue to give your feedback is present. We have this, I'll go over how you can share your input, but all of these input tools are still open. We still want to hear from you, and we'll continue as we're drafting the plan to go back to these documents and tools to see if the updated feedback that we're collecting from you changes the input that we're reviewing. So the important thing is we want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to share your input, and we don't want to end that opportunity prematurely. So this slide outlines all of those different ways that we're getting out to the public. I mentioned we have that grand virtual meetings to allow anyone across the county to view the presentation from the comfort of their home. We have these in-person meetings. We're also having small group meetings. As you can imagine, the county, there's a lot of technical stakeholders that also are important to the planning process. That's our utility providers, it's state land, it's game and fish, a lot of the other agencies or providers in the county that are part of the growth and development process are also having conversations with those participants to merge all of that feedback to ensure that the plan is, as it's titled, comprehensive. And then the primary three tools that we utilize to collect feedback is that community survey, and so we'll share some of those results as I mentioned. The idea wall, apologize for that. Plug this in.
So while he's dealing with that, we have three primary methods that we're collecting outreach besides our in-person meetings. And the first was the community survey, as Matt mentioned. If you go online to our website at framework2040.com, there is a participate page. And on that participate page, you'll find the community survey, idea wall, and our virtual mapping activity. So the community survey has a series of questions. It's colorful. There's different types of questions. It's not just a simple survey that you usually see that's just multiple choice. There's categories that you can rank, and there are different types of questions than you usually see in one of these types of surveys for a comprehensive or general plan. The other feature that it has is the idea wall. And again, we appreciate Showa so much and Lisa for promoting that for Sun City. We've received a lot of comments recently from Sun City and from District 4 in general. And that tool allows you to go on to our website, and it's basically a sounding board. What is your idea? And it allows you to put whatever you want in there, if about the comprehensive plan, about the direction of Maricopa County in the future. You're also able to post pictures if there's a particular site that you wanted to focus on. If there was a video of something you wanted to show us, you can do that too. The other thing you can do with it is there's a like button. So if you like what someone is saying, you're able to upvote it basically. You're also able to comment on someone else's idea and start a discussion. And that's something that, you know, I find really innovative for participation, and we hope that you use that and have an opportunity to. Lastly, we have our virtual mapping tool. You could place a point on a map of a location that matters to you, that you want to identify, that's important to the comprehensive plan, that has implications for growth and development. We've had a lot of use of these tools. They've been very successful thus far, and we hope we can make them even more successful. That's why we're here today. Matt?
Yes, thank you, Adam. Perfect summary. So as I mentioned, those are bolded because they're still available on the project website to go in, and as Adam mentioned, on the idea wall and the mapping, you can go there and see what your friends and neighbors have shared. So it's a two-way feedback opportunity. Instead of just one way where you give your information, this way you can actually see what your friends and neighbors are providing and even add additional comments to that. So let's get into the actual results, well, I'll say the preliminary results of the initial survey to this point. And so as we look at this information, one of the things that we key into is making sure that we're getting a good distribution of input, right? So when we ask demographic type of questions in a survey, it's just to make sure that we understand who's taking the survey, and are we getting a broad enough participation across the county, or are we skewed in one area or another? So we like to share some of the upfront feedback so we all understand what are we collecting and make sure we're as transparent as possible. So one of the questions we asked, as you can see on the screen here, is what is your connection to unincorporated Maricopa County? And the largest bar there on the left-hand side is those that live in Maricopa County. So that's what we would expect. That's what we would like to see. So that's encouraging that the most participants are those of residents. But it's also good from a planning perspective that we're getting the perspective from other players within the county. Those would be property owners within the county, maybe those that work within the county, or even those that visit the county. All of those inputs are things that we're taking into consideration. Yes, residents are key and top of mind, but other aspects and perceptions might inform the feedback that we're collecting from residents and be value added. And so that's why we do look at the variation there, but we're encouraged to see that the residential participation is the highest. The flip side is we also look at how long have you lived in unincorporated Maricopa County. And you can see from that donut chart there that we have distribution of those that are taking the survey. We have those that have been in the county for a shorter period of time, 1 to 5 years, all the way up to 11 to 20 or 20 plus. So that's, again, something that we like to be mindful of, is making sure we get perspectives from those that may have been here for a short period of time, but of course, those that have been here for a longer period or maybe their whole life. You might be looking also at the NA or the blue area. That would be in alignment with the prior question, that if you don't live in Maricopa County, you might work here or own land here, then your response would have fallen into that blue area. So now, while we're reporting the overall data here from this preliminary results, I will also share that in the background, on a more detailed level, we're also able to take this information and look at specific aspects, that we can pull out the residential feedback, for example, that everyone who took a survey that said I'm a resident, we can then look at all their results in a vacuum and say, how did the results change when we look at these certain groups? And that's informative as well, right? Because then we can make sure that we're understanding what's the focus of residents compared to people that own property, for example, and understand any differences or nuances there. So here's another graphic that, as I mentioned, the comprehensive plan, right, looks at a lot of goals and policies and text, but we're also looking geographically at areas. And so this question, if you live in unincorporated Maricopa County, what community do you consider yourself to be a part of? This graphic just lumps some of those responses. And so the size of the bubble indicates the number of responses. So the larger the bubble, the more responses we received. And we looked at it, and we organized it also per the supervisor districts, or the map you see there. So the colors coincide with the districts that those areas are most closely associated with. Some communities straddle multiple districts, so we just had to kind of lump them into the one that they're most associated with. But what this started to tell us is, are there areas we need to get out to share more? And you might see Sun City. We have Sun City West, but Sun City is not there. And so another reason why we said, let's, in our next round, make sure we get out to Sun City and ensure that this graphic can be even more comprehensive again. So we always want to be comprehensive from participation, but also geographically. So now let's get and transition from demographics and get into a little bit more of the specifics of the survey itself. I realize some of this text will be small to read, but that's why, again, we put all of this on the project website. It's also on the boards in the back of the room. And I would clarify that the survey has a lot of specific comments in it that we don't have time to go through all of that this morning. And so these are just a few of the results. You can go on the project website, pull up the vision report that has these results, and all of those results are in that full report, along with all the individual comments that go along with this feedback. So any of these questions often had an open-ended comment box associated with them, that if you wanted to clarify your response, you could share a point of reference. And any of those comments are also all added into that summary report so that everyone can see the whole picture that we're seeing in terms of the feedback collected. But what this graphic does is we wanted to look at how important do you think the following topics will be over the next 20 years. So we gave this list of specific topics in the survey, and then we asked those that took the survey to just simply identify, is this topic very important, or not important? And you can see just by the colors on the graph, if it's hard for you to read, that everything that was outlined was generally largely supported. And that's good, because the comprehensive plan needs to be comprehensive, and we would be looking at all of these topics as part of this process. But what this activity does, it allows us to understand from a community perspective, are there any areas that we might need to give a little bit more attention than others? And so what we pulled out of this, for example, is item 21 there. Water availability was top of mind with everybody. Not one person identified that water is not important. And I would say, great, we would agree. Water is pretty important to us. So everybody else was on the same page with that. Some of the other things I would mention that were the highest performing, if you will, in terms of the feedback: protect our natural environment. We also heard the third top of the list, improve and maintain parks, trails, recreation network. I mention or call those three out: water, the environment, and parks and open space, because we started to see a trend as we go through some of these results. Environment and parks and open space and trails were always top of mind with the feedback that we were collecting. And so that's interesting, right? In and of itself, that we see some consistencies amongst feedback, even when there might be nuances of concerns that vary from unique portions of the county to others. There are some overarching themes that are consistent across the county, at least in terms of these preliminary results. But you can see that a lot of the other ones are bolded in orange there that all performed extremely high. And thus, again, it validates for us that everyone recognizes, hey, we need to be looking at everything. We need to be challenging ourselves to make sure that we're doing the best we can on all fronts. But yes, Matt, there are a few areas that we might want to make sure we're doing a little more detail to make sure we're understanding the issue comprehensively. So as we go a little deeper here, we start looking at growth itself, and we ask the question, when deciding where development should occur in Maricopa County, it is most important to consider, and we provided this list of considerations that are on the slide here. And we asked participants to organize these, prioritize these in your mind, what is the most important, and so on and so forth down the list. Again, all of these areas are things that the county looks at when they're evaluating development proposals. But we want to hear from the public about what is your perception. And this was an informative exercise because one of the things that I highlight is closer to the bottom of the list, you'll see adjacent development. For me, sometimes I automatically, when I hear a project's being proposed, I might immediately say, oh, what exists around that site? But as far as some of the feedback we're getting right now, it's identifying that we want attention provided to our environmental impacts and our park and open space availability, which goes back to my prior comment about that theme where we're seeing some commonalities. So again, another aspect that this survey helps to inform the process is to see where your mind is at when you hear about a development process. And then this information helps the county better understand what might be some things that we want to reassess when we're evaluating projects about questions to ask and answer when those projects are being proposed. So, of course, housing is another area that we touched on within the survey. Housing is something that's important across Arizona, across the country right now. And so while the comprehensive plan gets into housing at a very broad level, and then other tools within the county, and particularly our municipalities, then implement housing and housing programs at a more detailed level. But at least within this, we looked at the housing question from a comprehensive standpoint and asked, how does the county's housing stock meet the needs of home buyers? And you can see that the feedback was pretty split. We had about 53% said housing meets their needs either good or very good. And then the remaining said it's poor or very poor. And so what this graphic starts to suggest is that really it's a perception of, if you're in a house right now, you probably have a feeling that the housing stock meets my needs. I'm in a house. But if you're looking to buy a house for the first time or get into home ownership, it might be more challenging for you to enter the housing market. But that's just a very broad question, right? And so we asked a more detailed question to understand that housing topic a little bit more. And so we asked, what specific housing-related challenges do you feel are important when considering the future of the county? And so again, we have the bubbles here to show of the options that participants could select. The bubbles show what was the most prevalent, with the center focusing on availability of affordable single-family homes. So again, this more refined question tells us a couple things. First, that residents are still looking for those single-family homes, but they need them to be affordable. Now, the challenge with that is what's affordable to you might not be affordable to me, and what's affordable to all of us might not be affordable to someone else. So that tells us something but doesn't tell us the whole story. But it's informative to at least know that there's an interest and desire still for single-family residential. But then you can see the other bubble there of 59% identified that the price point of starter single-family homes is key and important. And so that starts to tell us a little bit more that it's actually, for many, it's how they get into the housing ownership market. And that price point, that introductory price point, is most important for them, and then they, can go up the ownership ladder like maybe many of you did through your careers. Other topics that jump out there, the next bubble is density, right? And that was one that would be expected, that when we're looking at housing and when we're hearing about a project being proposed, what's often the first question that you might ask? I often look at, what's the density of the project? And so how that density fits into an existing development pattern is, of course, a very key component of the development and growth process. So again, you have the opportunity to look at some of the boards in the back or go online and digest this feedback in a little bit more detail, but all helpful, informative results that help guide us to know where should we maybe be looking at in terms of adjusting some of the goals and policies in the plan. Another aspect, since we heard that parks, trails, and open space are top of mind with residents, we had a question in the survey: what types of park, trail, or other open space amenities do you think Maricopa County is most in need of? So we hear in some of those other questions that parks, trails, and open space is important, but that covers 3 areas: parks, trails, and open space. So what is it about that that's key? This graphic and survey question helps us start to unpack that a little bit more. And so you can see here that trails were most noted by participants of the survey, and it's actually trails that link destinations, right? It's good to get out and be active and utilize the trail system, but residents also emphasize that having trails that connect destinations would even be better. And then from there, you see other feedback that we would anticipate, that it's looking at our community and neighborhood parks as well as our more regional parks, and making sure those keep up and respond to growth and development. Then I'll start to wind down here. One of the last topics I'll touch on, and again, the survey touches on many other questions, and so the comment I'd close on is economics. And while the county does not drive the market across Maricopa County overall, right? We have agencies that focus on economic development across the county. We have municipalities that focus on economic development. But the county is a participant in that process. And so it's important for the county to be mindful of economic development and where the county's going so that it can help coordinate those efforts. And so we asked, which kinds of industry should Maricopa County prioritize when thinking about the future? And so we had a lot of different options in terms of different industry types, but you can see from the graphic that technology-related industry and healthcare-related industries were 2 at top of the list. And we've heard a lot about chip manufacturing in Maricopa County, and so technology and what goes along with that in terms of all the different industries or subsets of that. It's, I think, good to see that there's some consistency of the input across the county, that there's recognition technology is important and growing, but healthcare, right? We know that we have healthcare needs across the country in terms of getting more into the healthcare field, and then the needs itself within that category. And so this helps to reaffirm maybe some of the preconceived notions that we had going into this process of what are some areas that we should be considering. But that doesn't mean that all the other ones that are there on the list are pockets that need to be considered as part of the planning process as well. So all of this are snapshots, and there's a lot of individual comments that were very thoughtful, and I'd encourage you to, again, go look at that report and see what some residents had shared in some of their longer points of clarification. But we aren't able to share all of that detail with everybody. And so one of the slides I wanted to end on, at least in terms of our summary, is just to take a step back from the detailed feedback of the survey, and we asked ourselves, what is it of the tone and the themes that we're getting out of these results? And what we found as encouraging is there seem to be three big buckets that you could start to see where residents' perceptions are. One is prosperity, that residents really do view Maricopa County as a great place to live, and that they cherish the quality of life that we have here, and they want to protect and nurture that. And so that prosperity that we have today is something that we want to endure in terms of residents' responses. And so that was encouraging to see, of recognize what we have today. But there was also the notion of that stewardship, the environment, open space, water availability, air quality. Those types of things were also prevalent in residents' minds, and that notion of being stewards of our environment. And then last, it's that notion of opportunity, though. There is a recognition that we need to look at how we preserve our prosperity, how we balance our stewardship, but how we're always looking out to that next opportunity to make sure that we continue that cycle, that prosperity can continue, that stewardship is maintained, and the circle of life continues. But that is something that we kind of pulled out of the broader takeaway from these survey inputs are these key themes that we want to make sure the comprehensive plan strongly supports. So with that, I'll pause to see if there's questions about these initial points of feedback from round one, as well as the process overall, if you have any questions about the comprehensive plan's role or how it is updated. We do have some wireless microphones, so if anyone did have a question, you can raise your hand and we'll try to get out to you.
Well, thank you for the presentation today, very informative. One question that is of concern to me is the number of survey participants. When I look on the website, yesterday there was less than 150 people that had taken the survey, so nowhere on your slides did it indicate approximately the number of participants. So was it 150 and less, or was the number a lot larger? And if so, what was the number?
Yeah, that's a great comment, and that's one reason why it is a very robust process to get out to all corners of the county and get the momentum to inform residents about the opportunity to take the survey. But we also have a timeline that the comprehensive plan must be updated within, and so one of the things that we wanted to do is keep this survey open for as long as possible to get as much participation as we can. So when we took this snapshot, we did in terms of the survey. Now we have a lot of feedback on the idea wall and the mapping, but the survey did have, at that point in time, approximately 120 or so. Since then, we've had a lot more participation as we get more from Sun City, for example, learning about this process and bumping up those results. And so now we're north of 200, so we've almost doubled that. But we're always looking for more participation to make sure that we're getting to be as comprehensive as possible.
Yes, sir.
Miles. It's an amazing thing. It's been around for a lot of years, and I noticed your response is entering that trail.
Yeah, that's, well, one, thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention in terms of the trail's existence and purpose or opportunity within the county. That type of feedback is why we're here today. What we would want to learn are any issues that you're identifying. If there are pockets that are restricting the development or extension of that trail, we'd want to learn more about that through this feedback and this update process. What I can say is that some portions of the county, as we looked at that map, are guided by growth and development within municipalities. And so the county is somewhat limited in those areas. But in unincorporated Maricopa County, we want to have alignment between what the parks and open space and trail planning is and the comprehensive plan. And so if there's a misalignment of those and your notions about how the trail can be used for tourism, that was an industry that residents noted still needs to be mindful of. So there's a marriage right there based on your input that this process can inform. And so I guess I would thank you for that point of reference. And then we would want to discuss, once we understand where those inconsistencies are, why are they happening, and then maybe some policies that could help address that.
And I'd like also just to add real quick, we're going to take that comment and forward it to the Parks and Recreation, so Maricopa County Parks Department, so that they have that and that they're aware of that and can look into addressing that and addressing you in a more detailed manner.
I would sit down with Jennifer.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Tina Anderson. I live here in Sun City, and I'm struggling to try and figure out. We've got basically two issues that I'm trying to figure out which category they would actually fall in so it can be addressed. And one is how we need to address the situation we have in Sun City when it comes to unhoused people in Sun City. We need to know what we can do now and in the future to make that better. We have a population in certain areas of Sun City that, we've got two dozen homeless people, and they just keep moving from one part of Sun City to another. And because we're a county island, we get the people from El Mirage and Peoria and Youngstown because they have ordinances that help with that situation and we don't. So I think it would fall under land use, housing, and safety. Okay, so that's where we should put our concerns about that. I was just surprised that with the survey and everything that there wasn't more input in that regard. And then one other question would be, do we have the ability to ask for an ordinance that would say door-to-door salespeople in Sun City have to have a permit. Or get rid of it. Am I talking at the right forum, or which forum would I bring that up in?
Well, unless you want to do it.
No, this is, while this plan focuses on broad goals and policies, we're listening to all this feedback, and even if it's more detailed and more granular than what this plan is, we're still giving that feedback to other departments within Maricopa County that can address those issues, like human services for the unhoused population, but also if there's crime-related issues that you're seeing, we're forwarding that on to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, yeah.
So we want to hear those comments. We're getting them on the idea wall. And about the survey, you mentioned something, so I just wanted to go back to that. The survey does have opportunities where it's not just, click a bubble. There are opportunities where you can put in specific comments that you wanted to address. And I'll go back to that ideal wall again. The ideal wall is the perfect place. We have had a lot of comments coming from the entire Maricopa County community, from every district. And we're here for District 4, for Sun City West, for all of the various unique communities that make District 4 District 4. That's what we're here for. So on that idea wall, if you had a specific issue that you wanted us to address, we're going to make sure that that gets to the appropriate department, even if it is something not particularly specific to the plan. Your concerns are noted. We're taking this information down. This meeting's being recorded, so we're going to get all of this feedback from you, and we recognize it, and that's why we're here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this live? Yes, okay. My name is Dave Johnson. I've been a resident of the West Valley for 20 years. I've seen a significant growth in this part of the community. My comment was basically, in particular, in the first two slides. We're talking about the unincorporated, okay? I think our area, Phoenix, whatever we talk, the greater area, which we're all part of, includes a lot of incorporated cities. Okay, two of which I think are Surprise and Buckyard. Okay, both are growing faster than almost any place in the country. My concern is the infrastructure, the streets, and the everything else. And I want to know, how does the city councils? I know you got I saw the hierarchy, but do the city councils have to have their plans in conjunction with the state plan, the comprehensive plan? Because obviously the transportation in this community is not in our individual areas. You go up to 17 or you go out 303 or any of those things, or within Bell. We're all living in Bell, I think, and we know what that's like. It's terrible, and it's not getting improved. So the general thing is, your slides are the unincorporated areas. Again, I think the majority of the people that live in the greater Phoenix area are probably in incorporated areas, and I'm wondering about that.
Kick it off. So great comment about infrastructure and transportation in general. There is a lot of coordination that goes on for transportation. And we do have our MCDOT, Maricopa County Department of Transportation table in the back of the room if you have more specific questions about transportation overall. But within the county, certain roadways have jurisdiction for certain municipalities or agencies. So some roads are governed by MCDOT that might even traverse some communities. And then other roads, obviously, within unincorporated Maricopa County are managed by the county, and then roadways that are in a municipality are managed by that municipality. So I would emphasize that, as an example, our small group conversations, we have consistent coordination with municipalities looking at the transportation level. The transportation planning looks at a more detailed level, and they coordinate even higher than that. Yes, there is coordination in terms of those alignments and what types of facilities they will be. There's also regional modeling that's used to look at all of that. So there's a very robust set of efforts that guide our transportation. But I would agree or clarify that at the end of the day, when those alignments are developed in a municipality or a county, based on their ownership, they are guided and ultimately determined by that municipality or by the county. So the funding for those improvements are determined by whoever's jurisdiction that is. Now, there's also a third component of that, which is MAG, Maricopa Association of Governments, and they look at the county holistically, and they also assist at a more regional level, coordinating those efforts to ensure that things are being done at proper time. So it does start to get very layered and nuanced, but you are correct that municipalities generally will guide the development of their roadways. Unincorporated county guides the development of roadways in the county, but there are some particular alignments, like Carefree Highway, for example, that might traverse multiple municipalities, but the alignment itself is partly controlled by Maricopa County. Correct. Yes. The question or the point of clarification was just acknowledging that when we were referencing the plan addresses unincorporated Maricopa County, that roadways and development in municipalities is governed by those municipalities. If that.
Yes,
We'll try and take a couple more questions. We do have another exercise to get through, and we want to also make sure we're respectful of everyone's time, so we'll try to get to more questions, but want to also get to some of our other activities.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Marianne Eastburn. My questions are centered around the Citrus Park area. And a lot of residents are more agriculturally based there, and many are concerned about the encroachment and the constant changes that we experience as Glendale seems to absorb more and more of our area. We're just looking for guidance on what is the plan, because every time we turn around, there's a property across the street that all of a sudden becomes Glendale, and some of us have to make life changes, perhaps even move, because we're not really aware of the changes that are happening by the city of Glendale, as an example only. But what's the major plan for the Citrus Park area?
So maybe one of the things I would clarify from your specific question is, yes, the comprehensive plan does look very broadly, and so to get into specific aspects of a neighborhood, an area plan would be a more detailed opportunity to give that specific guidance. But what I might also reference is within the municipalities in Maricopa County, they all have their municipal boundaries, right, that we saw on that map. But all cities and towns in Maricopa County and across Arizona also have what's called a planning area, what they might grow to, in essence, what they might annex into their city over the future. And so it might be beneficial in your instance to also see what the plans are within Glendale in their planning area to understand that relationship. if you're trying to anticipate what Glendale's plans are. You could look at their general plan, and that would give you a sense in terms of understanding where they're headed compared to the development that exists around you today. But Maricopa County, and the focus right now is looking at the county holistically, but then for areas that have specific concerns, taking that, as Adam mentioned, taking those comments and helping identify, hey, we're getting a lot of feedback in this particular area. Maybe this is the next area plan that needs to be updated, or maybe we even need to add an area plan. And so that's what could come out of this process, is to go update a particular area plan that just occurred in the White Tanks, might occur in another area, or even the development of one if it doesn't exist. Is that? Oh, yes, we'll go over here.
Am I on? I'm on.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Will Reppensek, and I live in Sun City. My wife and I, in the process of planning for retirement, bought our first property here in 1989, our second in 1991, and our third in 1993. And as investments, so that when we did retire, the theory back then was, well, okay, you sell off that and you either buy or build in the area that you like, what you want. So you buy into the market early. Sadly, what we've seen since 1989 is a complete deterioration of Sun City in terms of its integrity, its bylaws, its CCNRs, and the irony is that I didn't see a little orange box around crime prevention and safety. The other lady made a comment. Marcia and I moved here from Detroit, and I never had my car broken into in Detroit like I have here. I've never been attacked by a toothless meth head at Fry's on Grand and 103rd or 107th. So the environment here has really deteriorated from what we bought into originally. The other, and I see that it as a complete disconnect between Maricopa County's desire and understanding to support the integrity of Sun City, but rather overrun it. One of the properties that we have went non-rental, so we have it as a guest house, okay? 35 units, flippers are now coming in, and there is absolutely no inspection. We call the planning department and, CHIPS boys to come out and do an inspection. Well, we're building multi-billion-dollar chip factories, and I'm sure the last thing they need is to come and look at whether somebody is rehabbing appropriately a garden apartment in Sun City. So there seems to be a conflict between what Maricopa County is doing with an unincorporated area to completely reduce their integrity. We have drug paraphernalia and drug selling places that are not part of CVS. And it's all young people. There's no, I actually go to CVS over there on 99th.
Right.
It's all young kids.
Yeah.
So when is Maricopa County actually going to incorporate into a strategic plan the integrity of what they're absorbing?
And that you have a lot of great topical areas there. And what brought to mind your comments is what Adam shared, that we're learning through that idea wall. A lot of your friends and neighbors posted similar comments on that idea wall, and then a lot of other neighbors upvoted that and added comments. So we're learning. and hearing these nuances. And then what it tells us is that we can be looking at safety at a higher degree. What I would add is that, yes, we can't get into the bylaws and the CCNRs of Sun City. That's not within the realm of the comprehensive plan, but we can look at what you're asking for, is what is that relationship of what the county is guiding on, and how does that relate to the quality of life in Sun City? And so I guess what I can add for you at this point in the process is that we're listening, and that we take that feedback and try to revisit our goals and policies to ensure that maybe we can create a better environment for that communication, so that then it goes both ways, that you can communicate to the county where there's inconsistencies, but on the reverse, maybe that helps inform the bylaw and CCR discussion. But definitely not lost on us about the concerns about safety and the inconsistencies with some of the applications of current goals and policies.
I just wanted to add too, really quickly, even if it didn't have an orange box on it, that doesn't mean it's not an important priority. And it may be by a matter of degree that it didn't have an orange box. If you looked at that chart, and I think we've got it up over there as well on the boards, you'll see there's not a lot of difference. There's some areas that have a lot of difference on them, but on that particular topic, there's not too much difference between the topics that people felt were a higher priority. We're not done collecting feedback. This survey is going to be open until the draft plan is released, and so there's still more time to get that feedback from individuals like yourself. So go online to framework2040.com and take that survey. Fill out an idea on the idea wall. We want to hear that.
So,
Okay, we'll take a couple more, and then I'm going to jump into the exercise.
my name is Suzanne, and I live here in Sun City, and I'm glad to see that you guys are here today. But I have a couple of questions. The first one is, how much authority does the comprehensive plan have? In other words, if a project comes up and it says, oh, well, is this in compliance or in agreement with the comprehensive plan or not, what do the decision makers do from there? And who are the decision makers? Because what I see going on around me is that you have all this input, like how important water and the environment and preserving natural plants and habitat, which is inextricably linked, and yet when push comes to shove and decisions are made, it seems like that the deep money pockets somehow are the ones that end up getting the decisions they want, rather than what we, the people, have said we want. And so I see the decisions as being incongruent with what the feedback is that you're getting. And for me, that's extremely frustrating, because you have people in decision-making processes or roles in this state who deny climate change. So how do you rectify or come to terms with that decision should be made based on the feedback and not on who has the most money?
Oh, wonderful. Yep. No, I'm glad you brought that up. And it's the aspect of the comprehensive plan and its teeth, if you will, are all established at the state statute, right? And statute says that the comprehensive plan must be developed by the county and updated every 10 years. And then from that, we establish those goals and policies, and it's those goals and policies that decision makers, the Board of Supervisors, utilize to then form their decisions. But it is their decisions at the end of the day that will determine what moves forward or not. And so what we would always emphasize when we do this in general plans as well as comprehensive plans, and we do that in communities across Arizona. And yes, a lot of our planning projects come down to our decision makers, right? But we would emphasize this document is our voice. It's our ability to tell them what matters to us. And then, yes, it's that public process when those projects come forward that we can hold this plan and say, this is what residents supported, and this is what we want your decision to be based on. So that's why I emphasize the value in this planning process is that it can be that voice. But to answer the second part of your question, it is the Board of Supervisors that in most instances is the decision maker in terms of the final approval. I know that there was one other lady, maybe and we'll take this question, and the lady behind you, I know was waiting patiently. So we'll take these three right in my view here.
Hello, my name is Robin Jones, and I live in Whitman, Arizona. The reason I'm here today is I saw on the, your announcement about this, and I thought, what a great thing. What my question is for the past 2, 3, 10 years, we've been working on the BNSF problem. And what my question is, does it behoove us, or us three here and more would come, to be a part of this, to work with what's going on there? Because we have done our due diligence with our letters to the Board of Supervisors and the zoning committee and everything, but we're boxed in where yesterday we learned at a meeting with them last night that from the 303 to the 60 and from the 211, which comes off of 60, goes to the 74, that they're going to have over 6,600 or 1,000 trucks, no, 66,000, trucks coming out off of 211, which was going to go through our community. Now they moved it up to state land that they just purchased. Anyway, and it'll go off on 74 where they'll put a stoplight, which they're saying is going to go towards Lake Pleasant. Well, that's not going to happen because those trucks will go back down. Then they're talking about 24/7. It's the world's largest intermodal train facility in the United States. If you check and look at Barstow, Los Angeles, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, we had videos of that to show people. It's horrible. You've got trains coming in and out. It's constant. They'll be coming in off of the 60 across for the trailer park. They'll be coming in and out, going out on 74 from what they're saying. Right now, with all the building from 303 to clear out in the desert, the railroad will not allow that development on 63 where the new Fry's is and all of those new homes are. They will not allow them to build a bridge over to egress out of there to get on the 60 or the 74. I could go on, but I know what you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that. We know that the BNSF project for many is very important. What I would emphasize is that per state law, when an application like that is made, it has to move forward in a certain process and time frame. And unfortunately, at least from a comprehensive plan standpoint, we're moving in separate tracks. And so to answer your first question, I would say that, as you mentioned, participating in that zoning discussion is first and foremost important. And that staying engaged with that process is key because that is going to be your best avenue to be aware and inform that. Okay. But the comprehensive plan does still provide an opportunity to look more holistically, right, about the things that matter to us to establish policy that influences whether it's BNSF or the next one 10 years from now, that we have goals and policies in place that you all might help inform the process to figure out where adjustments are made. So I would say to be greedy, please participate in both and stay involved in both, and you can help inform each of them, I'm sure, with all the research that you've done. And so that would be my best guidance. And I guess I'm getting this, I feel like the Oscars, I'm getting the lights on. That's to encourage us, so thank you for that.
Continue with you and continue doing what we're doing.
I would encourage you, yes.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to add this gentleman right next to you, Joel Landis. He is the case manager for the BNSF project. after we finish our interactive activity today, sorry to point you out there, Joel. So after we do our after we do our interactive activity, any comments that you have, you can send to him, and he can include as part of the documents with the staff report that goes to the Planning Commission or to the Planning Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. Additionally, there's other people here when we get into the interactive activity after that that can answer questions specific to specific cases.
Yeah.
That's right, he does.
We're going to jump to next question
ma'am.
and
Thank
then to the one after that. Yep.
Okay, hi, I'm Joanne Osborne, and I'm a former city council member in the city of Goodyear, and I will tell you, every incorporated city has to do a general plan. I'm also one of your previous legislators and an Arizona native. I'm actually leaving the city and going into the unincorporated parts of Maricopa County. And with all of the decisions that we made as a family to move there, my biggest concern is public safety and those response times, and within this comprehensive plan, what that looks like. Within a city, you know, we study those response times, we study those locations of stations. You have a sheriff's department that seems to not have enough sheriffs, and so, you know, part of, to me, as this comprehensive plan, we look at where are those stations, where are those units that, you know, have to travel within unincorporated areas, what are those response times, and who can be the partners around us. And so I just hope that are the things that you look at as you talk about public safety, and actually those data points that could be part of what this looks like. And I don't know, you know, a general plan has to last 10 years. I don't know what your comprehensive plan, how many years that lasts. So that's new to me. Thank you.
Yeah, one, thank you for your service, and two, that great comments overall of the discussion about the process that plays into looking at safety. The comprehensive plan needs to be updated every 10 years, just like a general plan. But I think in your comments, you touched to where our mindset is about safety, is the comprehensive plan will look at safety, but it's also our bridge, right, to work with the sheriff's department and feed them, hey, we got this specific information. We have broad recognition of that, but here is what our residents are saying in terms of more granular input that then would inform their process, and it would hopefully inform funding and other conversations that go from there that is a little more maybe nuanced than you might experience at the municipal level. But in essence, the steps are similar in that, yeah, look at response times, understand funding challenges and how there might be a balance achieved. But yes, the comprehensive plan isn't going to get all those answers. It's going to be a layered process in terms of the comp plan setting the tone and then other documents or communication supporting that. But very good comment overall about the safety aspect. And ma'am, thank you for being patient, and we'll close with your comment. Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. My name is Vicki Miller, and I've been a resident of Sun City for 15 plus years. And my question is I don't understand why, like about the last 2-3 years, we're seeing 2-story buildings and big, huge RV garages being built when our covenants say no. Same thing with detached garage. And I've asked, and they said, well, because the county has basically superseded our covenants here in Sun City. So we have gotten new management within our Sun City Homeowners Association, and they're doing a fantastic job. My question is, are you working with them closely to make our covenants stay within our boundaries and that they get enforced?
Well, that's a great question, and thank you for it. You know, we are working closely with SHOA, and we'll work closely with PORA. On the issue of restrictive covenants, there's a delicate balance there because we don't enforce CC&Rs and restrictive covenants. What we enforce is the zoning ordinance. And So if something's incongruent with the zoning ordinance, we're able to enforce that. What you're talking about is it sounds like a building permit issue, and I know that Lisa has provided us a suggestion from SHOA about CC&Rs and about letting people know that that the CC&Rs are, excuse me, just give me a second, letting people know that there are CC&Rs in effect regarding that particular issue. We're going to have more discussions about that, but we are talking with Lisa and getting that feedback from her and SHOA. So.
Okay, what I want to transition to is a little bit of interactive coordination, and we're a little limited on time, so I'm going to try to just get into this quickly. We want to do some interactive polling, and so if you participated in the White Tanks area plan, this might be familiar to you. We do have feedback boards in the back of the room, but this exercise, what we can do here is if you get your phone out, you can scan this QR code. When you scan this QR code, it will bring up some questions that prompt as I move through the presentation. So if you take your camera out and point your camera at this QR code, you might even see it on the side screens if the front doesn't pick up. If it's not picking up on your phone, you can also, in your browser, type in menti.com and then type in the code that you see at the top of the screen there. Again, now, if you don't want to go through this interactive exercise, there are feedback boards in the back of the room that go through the same exercise. But this is hopefully a way we can hear from a lot of you all at once, and you can also see the feedback. Is everyone getting through? Some thumbs up here? Okay, we see thumbs up. Anybody having challenges? I don't see too many hands, but if you do have challenges, you can keep your hand up and we'll have some in the room assist. But I'm gonna move forward then if we have consistency here. So let's get into this first question. And so what we're looking at here is we took all this feedback that was collected and we're trying to understand how we're going to move forward from here. And so how we move forward from here is to make sure that we can provide some general statements and see if those general statements that align with the feedback we've received to this point, if you read those and we develop goals and policies based on those general statements, would that make you feel optimistic, neutral, or concerned? Okay, so there's no way that I can throw all the information that we collected back at you. It would be drinking from a fire hose. And so we tried to distill that into these statements. And this one is just focused on land use. Then we're going to go to one about housing and safety and transportation, etc. But the idea here is try to get you to see where the comprehensive plan might be headed, and then to help you calibrate by saying, okay, based on these statements, Matt, I feel pretty optimistic if you were to go put more detail to this, you're headed in the right direction. If you come back and say, oh, I'm concerned, okay, well, that's good. Then it tells us, all right, we maybe need to recalibrate something. And so that's where we're trying to go with this exercise. And so you're already looking at tracking while we're presenting here on land use. If we were to focus on these and start to develop more robust goals and policies that then guide decision making, how would that make you feel? And we're seeing a majority identify as optimistic. What I will add is that as the last question to this exercise, we'll have a catch-all where you can even share, okay, here's some questions I still have, and that might help you clarify if you have, I'm concerned. The last question will help you type in, why are you concerned? What is it that it's missing? You also have the ability, if you want to do it in person, to go back and write a Post-it note if you don't want to go through the interactive aspect. So that's great. We're seeing some good participation and some positive traction on a land use side. If we look at these statements and use those to develop some more refined goals and policies, it sounds like majority would say you're headed in the right direction. But then for those that say we are neutral or concerned, we're going to be interested to see what the Post-it notes say and what you say in this last question to understand where we might make adjustments so that you would feel more comfortable. I'm going to move on for time and get to housing and safety. So this covers those two topical areas of housing and safety, and the same thing applies in terms of reading these statements and determining whether if goals and policies were developed, how would that make you feel? And here we go. We heard a lot of comments about safety in particular, and so I'm maybe not surprised that we're saying we have some more concerns about that. We need to get into this and unpack it a little bit more detail. But this is good. It's a very basic question, but I think it's very important to help us, right, make sure that we don't get out ahead of ourselves and find out we took a wrong turn. Okay, so we have some homework to do here. That's fantastic. That's why we're here. So good to know, and then maybe we'll learn more in that last question in terms of what is it that is the concern, and I would imagine a lot of it is some of those questions that we heard. Okay, so I'm going to keep moving ahead here. Everyone seems to be tracking the exercise well. This one, again, focuses on transportation and open space. So if these statements were to be the guidance, how would that make you feel relative to developing goals and policies? So, you know, maybe a little bit more balance here, but still a little bit of a concern. Again, all of this helps us make sure that we're not overlooking something drastically. So the fact that there's some balance here encourages me, says, okay, maybe a majority of these statements might be informative to developing goals and policies, but we still see a few here saying, I'm concerned. And again, we use your input in terms of refinements of questions you may still have, to guide us on what specific areas we might be needing to look at. And I would acknowledge that these are very broad statements, and so we have a lot more detail to get into. So I hope you're pleasantly surprised when we pull out the full comprehensive plan that you'll see a lot more detail in that. We even have a copy of the existing comprehensive plan in the back of the room if you want to get a flavor for the robustness, if you will, of the plan. So it will give us opportunity to get into this. And then we also have environment, water, and energy. And so here are some statements relative to those topical areas. And so, yes, I think we've heard a lot about, well, of course, environment's important, as we saw in the survey feedback, but we also heard about the importance of water. So we are, in terms of our other in-person meetings, this is tracking in terms of hearing other residents share concerns about this topical area. And we have equal ones that we continue to learn more as we work with stakeholders, because the county is, not the water provider and not the energy provider. And so a lot of this is part of the communication process and making sure the county can be a leader in that to get the right people to the table to help address these concerns. So then we'll close on the economy and cost of development. So here's a few questions or statements relative to the economy and cost of development. And cost of development might be an interesting term. It's one that statute says the comprehensive plan must address, is to look at the cost of development and how that is being accounted for as growth and development occurs. And so general plans and comprehensive plans are required to give consideration to make sure development pays for itself, essentially. So we're seeing a lot of thumbs up going there, so that's always good. We like thumbs up. But again, still doesn't mean that the notions of neutral or concern are not going to be ignored. So it's great to see that maybe there's some more positive traction in this aspect, but we have some work to be done in some other areas, and that's why we're here, is to continue to learn and improve. Okay, so here we get to that closing thought. So the biggest question still on your mind, you can provide your comments here open-ended, so you can provide more than one, but the idea here is that all of those other questions that we asked, this is your chance where you could say, I didn't see any statement about this topic, or I wish the statement on this topic focused more on why, and give your detail about what you want to get more consideration. And so as we see these come in, we'll note them. We see that Maricopa Trail and heard from our comments, so that's great to see. Notions about that coordination with fire and the sheriff's department. Traffic congestion and understanding how those relationships with development in municipalities is happening. And you know, the great thing about this tool, hopefully, is that you all obviously can follow along with me and see what your neighbors are sharing. I'm going to come over here and scroll through some of these, Adam, if you wanted to.
And let me just say that we can make this presentation available as well with these responses. We're going to have this recorded, so we can make a document available that includes these responses from this meeting so you can see. But that'll be part of the feedback that we include to inform the comprehensive plan development, and we appreciate it. We're not going to read through each one line by line. We just wanted to point out a couple examples of what we're seeing for you and to let you know that you have that opportunity. And it's going to be, you're going to have that opportunity for a while.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, is that we try and make sure that this is as broad as possible in terms of people engaging and then having an ability to voice that thought. And so these are the different types of methods that we want to make sure that we're listening. And so you can see along with us some of the clarifications that are coming in, and we can use this to then go beyond just saying, hey, I heard that they have concerns. What were their concerns? I don't know, but they're concerned. Now we actually can look at this and say, no, there's concerns about safety, the BNSF project, affordable housing. So this is all, doesn't go in a black hole. It gets detailed, it'll get put in a report, and then as Adam shared, it's also will be put online so others can add to this list. And the idea is that when we bring a plan back to you as a draft, a lot of this will be tied into those goals and policies.
Looks like some people are still typing away, so please continue. Give you another minute or two.
And this will be another plug too. I'm seeing some comments here that pretty closely align with some of the thoughts that your friends and shared on that idea wall. I know we keep harping on it, but it's just something that's gained a lot of traction, and it's been extremely informative to us. And so we'd encourage you, if you have the time, to look at it on the website, and you can see what a lot of your friends and neighbors have shared. I see some getting up and looking at some of the information. Again, we'll go through some final slides here, but if you wanted to give some feedback in person, there's boards in the back of the room that address these same topical areas and questions. Again, there's staff here to answer any follow-up questions, but with that, would just thank you all for coming. Check out the website to stay informed, and enjoy your Mother's Day weekend. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you all. And I'd also just like to thank again the people that came together to make this happen, from SHOA and the Recreation Centers of Sun City. So thank you so much. We appreciate you.